interwebs, I hope you're all doing well, and for today's video I want to talk about every transgender person's favorite topic, Harry Potter. Yay. Jokes aside though, yes, I do kind of want to talk briefly about the upcoming Harry Potter Reboot TV series that's coming out on Max in the next few years, specifically around the casting rumors that have come out, and I want to talk about it from a trans perspective. Because while in the long haul, I don't want to be focusing on the series at all, considering J.K. Rowling is still very much benefiting from it, is involved in it, and she's just a virulent transphobe who is actively causing harm to the trans community and using the money that she is earning from Harry Potter and the clout that she is earning from Harry Potter to do harm to the trans community. I kind of think it's worth also just talking briefly about the show here and there to discuss a transgender perspective on it and what's happening with it. And I've been finding just some stuff in terms of the response, the casting, production on it, to be interesting, to say the least. And I just want to share my thoughts. So I've already talked about earlier why I think the fact that they're doing this reboot series is ultimately very fascinating in terms of how far Harry Potter has fallen. Clearly they're just doing it because they have no other ideas with Harry Potter. The Fantastic Beasts movies just fell on their face for being kind of atrocious, especially after the first one. And it's also just interesting that they want to keep doing Harry Potter, considering J.K. Rowling's aforementioned terrible transphobia. It's still a profit-driven enterprise for them, and WB continually tries to downplay J.K. Rowling, even though she is very much involved in it. It's just a shitty enterprise all around for them. But clearly, things like Hogwarts Legacy made a lot of money, and they still want to try and milk every single IP that they possibly have dry in order to make some money off of it. But the response all around has just been very fascinating, both within the trans community and outside of it. Obviously, within the trans community, there have been people like me who have talked about this and things like Hogwarts Legacy, who have discussed saying, like, we should just stop supporting this completely, considering J.K. Rowling being a transphobe and being a hateful bigot. I'm not specifically calling for a boycott, like I didn't call for a boycott in the Hogwarts Legacy video game, which everyone misremembers. My point ultimately is, at the end of the day, we should be supporting other creators, other works, specifically creators who are transgender, being able to make work, especially in this moment where not even just Harry Potter is happening, but transgender people are being targeted, and it's very hard for transgender creators, so this is myself, to be able to create art and make art, specifically, especially in the Hollywood studio system, but really just generally anywhere at this point. But I do believe anyone who does support the show with their money and time is ultimately funding the economy of J.K. Rowling that is doing harm to trans people, as well as other folks who are still somehow ignorant of J.K. Rowling's transphobia, which is an active choice at this point, to be very, very frank with you, who are just like, why even be rebooting Harry Potter? We already have really great movies, and so are just confused by the very nature of this project. It has been interesting to see how the casting rumors have been coming out, because we've been hearing rumors of many different actors possibly in line to be cast in the show. I think the two most prominent ones have been John Lithgow potentially being cast as Dumbledore, and then Brett Goldstein of Ted Lasso fame potentially in the line running for Hagrid. Nothing has been confirmed, but it is just interesting that we keep hearing these rumors, and there's several reasons why that could be the case, but really ultimately what it feels like to me, and this is my own conspiracy theory, there's nothing hard on this, so just be aware that this is me speculating, but it honestly feels a little bit like either the PR teams of these actors or the studio itself kind of floating them out there to see what people's responses are going to be, both just to them being cast and also to see, especially on the actor side, if they're going to get a lot of flack from the trans community for it. And I think we should be giving them flack, because ultimately, my opinion on this is any actor especially of a certain career level, like your John Lithgows or Brett Goldsteins, who don't need the Harry Potter show to get work, is not actively saying necessarily that they're a active anti-trans bigot, but what they are saying is that they don't care about transgender people. There's no way, especially if you are going to get involved in this franchise, they're basically saying, like, oh, my career, my platform, my ability to get ahead in this industry matters more to me than trans people. And frankly, I think any actor who takes this is deeply angering and disappointing to me, because at the end of the day, you're still supporting the economy that is causing active harm to us, especially in an environment right now where we need actual allies to show the fuck up. We are in a place right now where trans people are directly and deliberately under attack. J.K. Rowling is actively attacking transgender people. She has supported the culture that has led to the further and further further institutionalization of transphobia that is directly attacking us right now, both in the UK, in the US, and frankly, around the world. And so to support that in any way, shape, or form, even if you're not actively attacking trans people, is ultimately doing the same work to support that economy. So frankly, looking at these actors who do get cast in, and I want to be very clear, like Jonathan Lithgow, Brett Goldstein have not officially been cast, so I'm not canceling anybody, nor do I really believe in canceling anybody anyways. But I am just saying, like, this is what you're doing. This isn't me asking for anyone to attack them, to go after them, or, like, again, cancel them in any way, shape, or form. It's just to state a matter of fact. What you're doing is you are signaling to the transgender community that you don't care, and you are more than willing to support your own career at our expense, the expense of our lives. Also, it's worth mentioning, too, just an interesting little wrinkle in all of this, that Jonathan Lithgow, who I love as an actor, by the way, I've enjoyed him in so many works, I think he's a brilliant actor, has also played trans people in the past. Because at the time, like, a cisgender man actor playing a trans woman wasn't as understood as it is today as being harmful, contributing to the idea that trans women are just men in dresses, and contributes to the economy of trans people not being able to get support even in stories about us. So, like, I'm not angry about that, but it would be interesting if he takes this Harry Potter job, if he is actually up for it, and it's not just rumors being spread, because it would just go to ultimately show what that was, is like being willing to benefit your own career directly on the backs of transgender people, saying you support transgender people, and yet when push comes to shove, and transgender people would be deleterious to your career, you ignore us completely. I have a little bit more mixed feelings to a certain degree around people who actively need work. I live in Hollywood, and I know a lot of people who, like, just don't have money, are unable to pay their bills. And frankly, if you're not a name and your face is not out there, while I would prefer people not work on this show, I also know you gotta make money. So, like, I have complicated feelings on it. I don't have a hard, firm one way or the other. It's just sort of like, I know it's a gray area to a larger extent. Again, my feeling is, like, I prefer no one work on the show whatsoever, and I certainly will have very complicated feelings about anyone who tells me that they do work on the show. But it, again, will be more complicated than, you know, someone like a big name actor stepping into a role that didn't need to do so. And ultimately, it's really just kind of fascinating to me because it's very clear that this show is is trying to get off the ground, but there's just so much, like, why are we even doing this? Why are we supporting a transphobe on one level? Why are we remaking the Harry Potter show on the Harry Potter movies on another level? Like, yeah, you could do better with some of the things that the movies did, but they're such classic seminal works to so many people. Even I hate J.K. Rowling, and I still have I don't rewatch the movies. I put them away, and, you know, never plan to really rewatch them ever again in any way, shape, or form. But I still have, like, some warm and fuzzies for a lot of the actors that worked in that, specifically the younger cast, like Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, who have been actively supportive of transgender people since. But like, why? What's even the point? It's very clear they just want to milk IP, but to have no ideas, because that's where we're at in art generally, trying to make art for everyone and ultimately making art for no one by just pulling back nostalgia, trying to just say nothing by remembering the past and ultimately making art that no one is interested in, not saying anything. Look at stuff like Marvel, Star Wars. It's a common problem across much of Hollywood. And honestly, and I've said this before, my feelings on if you watch the show or not are exactly the same as my feelings on the Hogwarts Legacy stuff. You're allowed to make your own choices, but, like, you don't need Harry Potter. I understand people have a connection to it. I had a connection to it for a very long time, still do. It was part of my childhood. But you don't need Harry Potter, and anyone who actively supports it and gives it money is supporting the economy of J.K. Rowling. This is, again, not calling for an active boycott. I'm not, like, starting a campaign for it. It's just a matter of fact. What you are signaling to trans people is that you care more for your entertainment choices than you do for not supporting an economy that is harming trans people, specifically at a moment where we are under direct attack. It's like what we need right now are allies who are willing to risk something, like actually risk something. We need people who are capable and able to risk losing some money, risk losing some clout, like showing up at protests and risk their bodies for trans people, as transgender people and other folks should be doing for other marginalized communities who are under attack as well right now, especially for transgender people of color, most of all. If you are not willing to even give up a piece of entertainment, even if you're like, any money I give to them, I'll give to, like, a trans organization too. Like, That's not how that counterbalances, especially when the balance of power is right now in terms of the people who have power are harming transgender people. So balancing the scales in your own personal life does not mean that you are balancing the scales in terms of harm you are contributing to. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, I just wanted to kind of talk about it specifically around the actor stuff, because it's sort of like, it's just interesting to me that no actors are officially confirmed, but we keep getting these rumors of these big actors, and it really just feels to me like they're like poking the bear to see how people are going to react to maybe these people getting involved. And I frankly think we should be very clear and very open that anyone who gets involved in this, especially if they are people who do not need the attention, clout, or money in any way, shape, or form, but I really think, again, kind of anyone who gets involved, know that what you're signaling to trans people right now in the era of transgender people being under direct attack. And I think we just need to be very clear about that. Not as like an attacking anyone, not as an attempt to cancel anyone, not an attempt to go after anyone, but just as a statement of fact. This is what you are doing. It's not even, I'm not even saying this out of anger or hatred. At the end of the day, I'm just stating facts. I'm just stating a fact. If that makes you angry at me for stating that to you, that's a you problem, and kind of shows where your priorities lie in terms of what you would prefer to care about. Your own, how you're perceived, or transgender people who are under attack. And that goes also for the people who support and consume these works as well. But I've been having that conversation since Hogwarts Legacy, and we all remember how that went. So we'll see how this all goes. But again, it's not canceling anyone, not calling for a boycott, just stating facts about what you're signaling. That makes you angry? That should tell you something about yourself and less about me.